Hello and welcome to the Strategic Bookkeeper podcast. This is part 4 of a series that I'm doing. So it's a little bit like a mini course to a large extent. We'll probably wrap it up as a mini course in our academy. So we are diving into the mistakes and misconceptions that absolutely hold bookkeepers back from the success that they want. Okay. I am still struggling a little bit with my throat. I've still got my son out in the kitchen doing distance education. So if you hear background noise or a little bit of a croaky voice, you'll know why. But we're going to push ahead anyway. So I am really excited about diving into part 4. I think this entire series is massively high value for everyone. So if you haven't listened to the first 3, please do. And let's jump into the episode. I'm Jeannie Savage, the Strategic Bookkeeper. I've been in practice for 14 years, but more importantly, 5 years in, I achieved a lifestyle practice. This means I scaled my business, could take my hands off the wheel, and draw a nice 6-figure income while being time rich. And that's what I call my dream on my terms. I was recently awarded Women in Finance Innovator of the Year, recognizing my book, my podcast, my program, and my impact globally. The Strategic Bookkeeper is my life's work, and the opportunity to help bookkeepers globally achieve the income and lifestyle that sets them free absolutely fills my cup. Please do connect with me on socials at the Strategic Bookkeepers Way private Facebook group, or shoot me an email, hello@thestrategicbookkeeper.global. Okay, so let's dive into the part 4 on the mistakes and misconceptions. Once again, if you haven't listened to the last 3 podcasts, please do so. In the other ones, just to recap just a tiny bit, we went over employee mindset mistake, working harder rather than smarter, which is quantity over quality mistake. We looked at a lack of pricing, strategy, productized services, outcome billing, that kind of thing. And then we also looked at the conversion process, the customer journey, and product ladder. So all the mistakes that you might be making around that really can lead to you being possibly a busy bookkeeper, but not necessarily a thriving strategic bookkeeper, okay? And what that means is that you might be able to generate revenue, and that means you have to employ staff, more staff. You could easily have less clients, be making way more revenue, way more profit, and having to manage far less staff. So unless you have an absolute burning desire to manage more and more people, which if you have done that, normally, especially as a parent, so I'm a busy multitasking mama, and as a parent, the more team that I have to manage, the more moving parts and stressful things can get. And so I want bang for buck. So I want the smallest team I can possibly have for the absolute biggest impact that I can possibly have, okay? So we've dived into all of those, and in today's podcast, so I'm still right now looking at the mind map that I gave you in the part 1 of this series, and I'm also looking at these top 12 mistakes that I came up to, and we're really up to this one I called a quick word on how to work with me. You can join the waitlist for the Strategic Bookkeeper Transformation Program, which is a world-class, world-first, described by members as mind-blowing, which typically pays for itself within a month and has a full money-back guarantee. Simply go to thestrategicbookkeeper.global/waitlist. I also have a pricing academy with a calculator and my entire suite of productized services, plus other courses and resources on my website. Email me if you have any questions, okay? And we're really up to this one I called a lack of collateral, like $1 Million Storybook brochure, video sales letter. And I put for myself as above, because right before that, and what we dived into last week, was a lack of understanding of the customer journey and how to build and use a product ladder to work smarter rather than harder. And so one of the mistakes around the lack of collateral is really linked to brand and brand assets. And now in the mind map, you'll see that it says on the right-hand side, brand, and then digital ecosystem. Your digital ecosystem is really your brand assets. Now, a brochure can be a brand asset as well. So our $1 Million Storybook brochure that we give you in the transformation program, that is something I encourage you to get printed on high quality, high gloss print. And you absolutely, if you're business networking, then you're going to be taking that with you. It's also something that $1 Million Storybook brochure, for example. So the way this was explained to me was from someone called Glenn Carlson, definitely an entrepreneur that I really respect. He was saying, so when you look at a business that is of a decent size that has to recruit and employ salespeople, when they employ them, those salespeople are given collateral in order to be able to understand what problems they're solving for the clients with the products and services they're selling, to be able to really sell through the benefit of the product and service, because a salesperson understands that it's about benefits, it's not about features. So for every one feature that we talk about in a product or a service, we really need to be able to talk about 3 benefits. That's a bit of an old school sales and marketing tool, right? So it's collateral. It's lots and lots of high value collateral that gives the salesperson the ability to learn and convey the brand's benefits, okay? So in exactly the same way for you, but oftentimes rather than recruiting a salesperson, you have to wear all the hats. So you have to wear the bookkeeper technician hat, the marketing hat, the brand manager hat, the salesperson hat, the HR hat, all the hats, yeah? And so your brand assets are absolutely your collateral. To some extent, though, so is your brand. Now, if you've read my book, you'll know that your brand is your organization's personality. So your brand, to a large extent, is ethereal, just like your own personality, yeah? Your personality is not a dress that I can borrow from you. Your personality is more, it's the most beautiful, one of the most beautiful things about you. It's why I want to know you. It's why I want to hang out with you. It's why we connect as humans. It's why I can barely go a day without speaking to my girlfriend Julie, right? It's her personality. It's not the clothes she wears. And I think of your collateral, your brand assets, as a bit like the clothes that you wear, okay? And so the mistake that I want to dive into is the mistake that bookkeepers make around brand and around brand assets. And I feel like I don't need to go into this one too much, because honestly, I go into this like crazy in my book, okay? If you don't have a strong brand, and that is why you exist in the eyes of your client, I give you the brand building playbook in my book, the Strategic Bookkeeper book. If you don't have a vision and a mission, a secret sauce recipe, all of these things in place, then you are going to be lacking a personality, okay? So it's going to be a bit like putting a dress on the bed. I might look at that dress and think it's beautiful, but I don't really want to hang out with it, yeah? So you and your personality, your brand's personality, your organization's personality, which is your brand, is the absolute foundation of your house when it comes to your competitive advantage and your ability to connect with your audience, okay? So we talked about in the last podcast all the things that relate to exactly what I'm telling you now. So you must listen to that podcast, or even listen to it again, okay? Because to say it again, your brand is going to allow your audience to make a deep connection with you, yeah? Cue relationship, convenience, and price. And we always want to be building out that relationship, yeah, as a 10 out of 10, so that we don't have to compete on price, and convenience is a piece of it, okay? I've told a powerful story. I've told it a few times because it is a really good one, of a restaurant client we picked up, and they absolutely made a deep connection fast with me through my brand, yeah, and my brand assets, through my results-based marketing. And then the convenience piece was important to them, and so on, okay? So if you are like me in the early days during my fuck-up years, and you didn't know what the hell a brand was, and you thought a brand was a logo, you thought a brand was brand assets, and you haven't nailed a really solid version 1 of your brand, which is why you exist in the eyes of your clients, then that is going to mean that you don't have a great competitive advantage, and it's going to be so much harder for you to find, onboard, and retain clients without price as a priority. All of it. Find, onboard, or retain. So that means you're not going to be able to find as many clients. You're not going to be able to convert as many prospective clients, just like that story of the bookkeeper converting as low as 30% using a long-winded process. Yeah. And you're not going to be able to retain them forever. Yeah. The forever client. So remember when I talked about this emerald that we are going to hunt for and we're going to risk our lives for because it is the elixir of our practice? Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Okay. If you have not nailed your brand, so how long did it take me to fully nail my brand? Well over a decade. Yeah. How long did it take me to create the $1 Million Storybook brochure? 14 years. Remembering that I actually achieved a lifestyle practice with a 6-figure income and massive time wealth 5 years into my practice, okay? But I was still building and refining. And the reason I did it so much in the later years was to bring it to you, okay? Otherwise, the team and the money I spent would not have been viable if I wasn't doing it for the many. So the lesson there is that if you're making the mistake of not valuing building out a solid brand, then that is a mistake that will head you in the wrong direction and you won't get to the destination that you want to get to, okay? So the next one is the brand assets that I talk about in my book. So you can also call that collateral, okay? So in terms of websites, most websites I see for bookkeepers really miss the mark. And if you miss the mark on your collateral, being your website, your social media, or anything else, your $1 Million Storybook brochure, your video sales letter, it's going to come back to not being able to find, on board, and retain clients without price as a priority. Our retention over the years has gone from good to great to exceptional to mind-blowing, okay? And that's exactly what you want, okay? So I'm not going to need to rattle on about the mistakes and misconceptions around brand and brand assets anymore because I'm going to give you action, and that action is to look at the mind map, to read my book twice, and to immerse yourself in all things me, okay? If you're enjoying the journey that you and I are going on together, then I'm going to suggest that to allow me to help you as best I can, absolutely come into the program. But if you're not going to do that, then even in the program, my tribe members, they read my book, they listen to every one of my podcasts, they listen to all my private podcasts as well, yeah? They immerse themselves in me, and the more they do it, the bigger success they get. So please don't digress into other thought leadership. If my thought leadership is speaking to you, give me 100% of your attention to allow me to help you best, okay? One of my bookkeepers who emailed me was telling me that she had done a program by Linda Steffens, yeah? And I did Linda Steffens' program. Linda is actually a personal friend of mine and an amazing woman who specializes in helping accountants, yeah, with advisory services. And I did Linda's program about 6 years ago, and it was really high value. But I'm going to tell you that for bookkeepers, what I serve you up in the program compared to what Linda's serving you up as a bookkeeper, it doesn't hold a candle to what I give you. So it broke my heart a little bit that one of the objections that this bookkeeper had to allowing me to help her in the program, like I know I can, is, oh, I did Linda's stuff and, you know, I'm not really using it. And there are reasons for that, she said, but yeah, I've done that. And I thought, oh my goodness, like I've done Linda's program. It is great. But at the end of the day, I knew that as a bookkeeper, I needed a lot more. And one of the things I needed was far more robust assets and collateral. And in my program around advisory, I give you everything. Yeah. And I give you simple but powerful processes and powerful assets that I never had, that I have developed in order to help you step by step get the results with ease, okay? And then I'm holding your hand every step of the way to implement this stuff. So to tell me that, oh, well, I'm listening to this person or I'm doing this or I've done that, breaks my heart a little, because in the words of the tribe, there is no comparing what I'm doing to anyone else, okay? So that's your lessons on brand and digital ecosystem. Some bookkeepers will feel like, you know, they've invested time and money in their website and so they just want to keep going. Well, if you've paid for a punch in the face, do you really want your punch in the face? I'm going to suggest that you just contact Biz Inc. That's our premium website partner, and they're going to do it way better for you. If you do join our program, we have an NDA signed with Biz Inc. so that they can use all of our intellectual property, which is licensed to you, in order to create you the absolute best world-class website that even the owner of Biz Inc. is just absolutely mind blown by what he's been able to create with our collateral. Okay, so I think I've been clear on, if you're making mistakes around brand and digital ecosystem, you're not going to be able to find on board or retain clients in the same way that you will if you've got all that nailed. Okay, so the next mistake we'll move on to is around audience attraction. So I'm literally working through this little list I've got in front of me, and my notes say lack of understanding around audience attraction versus how to actually generate new business. So on the mind map, on the right-hand side under digital ecosystem, it says audience attraction, and then it says attraction strategies. And in previous podcasts in this series, I've introduced you to what it means to find an audience. So networking, Facebook ads, whatever it is, evergreen advocacy partnerships, which is probably my favorite, to find an audience, which is a group of people who have the potential, who are the kind of people that you would serve. Okay. So for example, Deb, she has a Facebook group with all tradies in it. BNI networking, for example, my girlfriend Sandra, who's in the tribe, she has a great networking group, and they're all business owners. Therefore, they all need a bookkeeper, right? So finding an audience, with the potential for you to solve their problems. So once you find the audience, it's the mistakes that you're making there. The good news is we've already gone into a lot of them. So in previous podcasts, I said, so when you find an audience, it's your ability to nurture that audience through the customer journey, to give them ways to take action through your product ladder, give them ways to get to know, like, and trust you 24/7 online through your digital ecosystem and your product ladder, that will mean that they will build demand and desire to onboard without price as a priority. So that one's reasonably easy, and we have covered that off in other podcasts, okay? So the moral of the story is that just finding an audience, like a networking group with business owners, and being a great technician and telling people what you do is not, my friends, let me be crystal clear, that is not going to translate into new clients, and definitely not into high conversion rates of clients who are prepared to pay you whatever you want, okay? So the next one is around failing to kit strategically. So on the mind map, it says database capture. So once you find an audience, you need to get them on your database, and your database exists in your email, your phone, your social media. And then you need to use your product ladder to nurture your audience. You need to keep in touch with everyone. So I shared a story recently of a prospective client that I have been courting for, it's well over a year, right? And so much so, he's actually referred other clients to me, and he keeps telling me, I really want to onboard, I really want to come across to you. But remembering relationship, convenience, and price, he's finding it more convenient to not move from his existing bookkeeper who he's not happy with. So realize now that this relationship, convenience, and price piece is so, so important. And convenience is real, and sometimes your clients stay with you only because of convenience, which is a practice that's very easily breakable. Okay, so the mistake that I see bookkeepers make is they find an audience, but then they fail to get them onto their database and keep in touch with them. Quite simple. So if you are not valuing and managing and maintaining and using your database along with your product ladder, well, then you are absolutely missing massive opportunities. You need to have all the other pieces of the puzzle in place, but your database and your ability to keep in touch with your prospective clients, your accountants, everyone, are the diamonds at your feet. And that means you are going to find, onboard, and retain less clients without price as a priority, okay? So we're going to be able to speed through these last mistakes a little bit easier. Given that this podcast is already about 20 minutes long, what I might do is leave it there. And my friends, we are going to have one more podcast episode in this series. So it's going to be a 5-part series. So stay tuned for the very last podcast episode on the mistakes and misconceptions, okay? I'll see you in the next episode. Okay, my friend, now it is time to take action. So what are you going to do with what you learned today? The way I see it, you've got 2 options. You can go it alone to try and save some money, or you can back yourself and go for it and join my tribe. And let me tell you, we are knocking it out of the ballpark. That's not a sales pitch. That is me serving you, dare I say, courageously. To find success, I 100% know you need the mechanics, which is like the keys to the kingdom, but you also need to get your mindset right and be super productive. And these are all things I help you with inside the program. I could go on about this forever because I really want this for you. Have a prosperous week, and I'll see you in the next episode.